cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut.
Today's episode is brought to you by ETB Games. ETB Games is, of course, our locals in Alexandria, Louisiana. They are our one-stop shop for all of our card game needs. They have singles and sealed product for the games that you love, like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon. Of course, you can also find the accessories that you need, such as sleeves, binders, playmats, and more. And if you're into D&D, well, they have all of your D&D figurines, the paint for the figurines, dice, books, and anything that you would need to play. So be sure to check out ETB Games. There's a link in the description down below. And now, back to today's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. My name is Sunny. I'm here with my new co-host, Giant Skyhawk, aka Isaac.
Hello, I'm Giant Skyhawk. It's a little weird to be here in an official capacity, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Of course. So, I will go ahead and address the elephant in the room first and foremost. So, Caleb has stepped away from the podcast. Now, if you're following us on Twitter or in the Discord server, you saw this Friday after the last episode went live. Caleb has stepped away for some personal reasons. He has a lot going on in his life right now. You know, it's kind of like I said in the Twitter post. When you have a full-time job, plus you're doing content creation at almost full-time hours, plus you have family and you have, sleep and things like that you need to do. When you do this amount of content creation that we do, you do end up with excuse me. You can very easily end up with burnout. So Caleb is taking a step back from the podcast and Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole for his own mental health, because burnout is a heck of a thing and it's something that he was dealing with pretty badly. So with that said, with Caleb now having stepped down, Giant Skyhawk has stepped up to fill his role as full-time co-host of the podcast with me. So there's a couple of things about this. The regular podcast upload schedule will stay the same. We don't have any real plans on changing the upload schedule of the podcast. Something we will do, though, is hopefully we will go into more of a regular upload schedule on our YouTube page besides just podcast content. We're hoping to do more regular short form content, put out as much high quality content as we can for you guys, the listeners, and hopefully soon the viewers on YouTube. And we are also not going to... If there's one thing that I don't want after this episode goes live is I saw one or two people saying not nice things, and I want everybody to know and understand Caleb has been one of my best friends for over half my life at this point, for over a decade and some change, and there will not be any Caleb slander or bad talking about Caleb. He is one of my best friends and always will be. And so while I am excited to move into this next chapter with Skyhawk and to, be here with Skyhawk, this is not an indictment of Caleb. Caleb will always have a place on this show should he ever want to come back. And he will always be one of my favorite people in the world. So
Caleb was a good guy. No nonsense.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
Yeah. So with that said, let's go ahead and get on into today's episode. So first off, we're going to thank all of our wonderful sponsors. So a huge thank you, of course, to Steelfox Games, ETB Games, and of course, we want to thank Gem Accessories. I want to thank Gem Accessories. And of course, we want to be sure to check out our Dragon Shield affiliate link, which is in the description down below. Now, with that said, Skyhawk, it's your turn to talk, baby. This is all you. So
That's
I'm sure
true.
people know you by now, but, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've been around. I've been around in the cast a couple of times, maybe 8 or 9. But in case anybody is catching me for the first time, because wouldn't you know who I am? Of course. But I am Giant Skyhawk. Skyhawk Sings on Twitter. Giant Skyhawk on YouTube. You may have seen me in that MBT video one time. I've topped the Chalice Line Monthly a couple of times. I won the very first one when it was called the Quarantine Series.
Did you really?
I did. Yep. I won the very first one. I won the first one. I got second in the second one. I got top 4 in the third one. And then I have a top 4 in the Chalice Line Monthly on Fluffle.
Okay.
And then...
and you're also a moderator.
Yeah, I'm a mod there as well. I'm kind of known as the Fluffle guy, but I was the Dino guy forever. I also, I think my crowning competitive achievement is the making it to the Remote Duel Invitational with the Goons Dino. I got that Dino DNA. But otherwise, I'm a judge. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I do music sometimes. And more importantly than anything else is that a feared salmon, master of the Sea of Darkness.
No.
Its roe is the best delicacy in the world of darkness. And that's who I am. I'm super happy to be on board.
So go ahead and finish your statement, and I'll follow.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Let me do the spiel. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
I'm super happy to be on board. Definitely was a bit unexpected, but I think that this podcast is fantastic, and I am super excited to see where we can go from here.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned the Terror King Salmon. Can you ask me what? So the main deck is almost like Pacifist Control. What does the extra deck look like in that?
It's funny you should ask. It's there are a couple of Chi Xiaos. One of them is Starlight, and one of them is not. Of course. And then of course we have Crimson Blader, but I never made it.
Yeah.
And I think Monk of the Tenyi, which shockingly you actually can make. That is maybe the only card you could actually make.
How?
The tokens.
Are they worm?
Oh, do they have to be worms?
Yeah. It has to be a non-link Tenyi monster.
Oh. Okay, never mind. You can't make one. You can summon it from your extra deck if Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi gets destroyed. That's how you can summon it. Actually, that's
true.
So you can summon Monk, but your opponent has to destroy it.
That's your line. That's the line. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad that intro went well.
Yeah. So now I think that a lot of people might be asking here, where. So obviously, from going forward, this will probably be like the main place that people can find you most often. Is there anywhere else people can find you?
Yeah, really the main places that I'm probably the most active are, I'm most active on Twitter because that requires very little effort. So that's at Skyhawk Sings. On YouTube, I upload maybe once every 3 months, but you can find me there at Giant Skyhawk. I'm quite active on Discord. I'm in a lot of them. If you're ever around, basically, quote, it's the Fluffle 2 Discord, but it's kind of become the Ease Skyhawk Discord. If you ever want to come in, that's the Necro Fusion Enthusiasts. As some would like to say, it's not a Discord server, it's a lifestyle.
I have heard that before.
And those are, you can always find me in the Top Cut Podcast Discord, which you should join by hitting the link in the description. I have been given the ceremonial green roll. So I'm around there, so if you ever need to find me, you can find me there as well. But other than that, I am here in video and audio form every
Let's
day that
go.
this uploads.
every Tuesday and Friday.
Woo!
Now going up, or we changed the time. It was 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now it's 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, which we changed a few weeks ago because, as it turns out, that's the prime time for YouTube uploads.
I see. We've got the strategy commencing.
Yeah, and I think what I'm gonna end up actually doing is, I think we're gonna upload to Spotify and the various audio platforms. I think we're gonna go back to 8 a.m. on those, and then we're just gonna do YouTube at like 12:30 because I don't see a reason to punish the audio listeners for the failings of YouTube as a platform.
That is a cold but true. And also, people might want to have it for like their commute to work, right? Like if
Right.
I know that was my frequent listening time was popping on to see what Caleb and Sunny had to say about the state of the game on my drive to work.
Yeah. And we it was funny when we changed the upload time. We had somebody in the Discord server that was like, "Oh, so are you changed the upload time?" I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Oh well, I guess no ride home podcast for me in the UK anymore." I was like, "Oh, now I'm a bad person. Oh no." So we're gonna go back and we're gonna fix that. So I think that while I do think that we're gonna keep the YouTube time around noon, we're gonna go and put the actual audio time back to 8 o'clock. So
Morning commuters, rejoice!
well, morning commuters in North America,
Right.
yeah, in Europe it's evening commuters.
My apologies. I am constrained by my own community.
Yeah. We're gonna fix that, aren't we?
I must broaden my horizons, and I'm sure I can do that by talking about a card game that we all know and love.
Right, which we will do at some point today, I swear. Let's go ahead and start that now. So we're gonna start with the structure deck. So we have some new cards that are coming out in the Jack Atlas structure deck, which is coming out later this year. I don't know exactly when, probably like September or so.
I'm pretty sure it is exactly September.
Yeah. So I guess I'll let you read the first card, that way I can get the second one, because I specifically want you to have the third one.
Okay, sounds good. Got it. All right. I gotta love the YGORG titles. They're just so good. Everyone's King returns with
Always.
SD46, and the only text in the article is just Jack, all caps. Love that.
I see. My favorite is always the URLs. Literally just Jack Atlas. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else you want them to put there. It's just Jack Atlas. So, first one, we've got a level 2 Vision Resonator. It's a Dark Fiend tuner effect monster. Level 2, 400 attack, 400 defense. A
level 2 tuner does make my Vision resonate.
I was just going to say, level 2 tuners that are also dark and also fiends, I don't know what you can do with those.
Nothing.
All right, so you can only special summon with the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. I guess we got to be specific with the clauses here. So 1, if there's a level 5 or higher dark monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. 2, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 spell trap that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend from your deck to your hand.
I could never see a situation where you would just have any level 5 or higher dark monster on the field. I don't know, man.
God, it's not like the deck is designed around a monster that is that. This seems pretty darn good. I mean, being a free special, and one thing that I would like to point out is that this just says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 spell trap dimensions. That doesn't mean it's sent for a synchro summon. You can just foolish this. You can discard it from your hand. So there's a lot of ways to get value out of this card. So I mean, it doesn't seem like something, like, I don't know how many copies of this you would play, but like you absolutely will play it. Like a free guy that replaces itself, if you send it from anywhere, that seems pretty good.
Snap rating is an 8 out of 10 for me. I mean, this card is really good.
Yep. Good card.
Also, if you control a Red Dragon Archfiend, you know what you can do.
Well, what's that?
Special this guy and then make Baron de Fleur.
I love Baron de Fleur.
So do I. So next we have Red Zone. Continuous trap card. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. When your opponent activates a card or effect, if you control Red Dragon Archfiend or a synchro monster that mentions it, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. 2. You can target one of your banished Dark Dragon synchro monsters, special summon it. Wait a minute. That's really good. This card's really good. I mean, you have to play a trap card, which sucks, but I mean, other than that, this card's really good.
Yeah, I mean, like, searchable. I mean, it mentions Red Dragon Archfiend, so you can search it with Vision Resonator, which I imagine we'll be getting a few more cards that Vision Resonator can snag from hand, or from deck.
Yeah,
rather.
for sure.
I think this card is really cool. Like, I really like card design. This is really awesome that it seems like we're starting to move away from negation when like necessary, unless they feel like a deck really needs it. Like, not only this being a searchable disruption, but also recovery in a continuous trap, I think is really good. It makes it possible for opponents to interact with it, but it also gives you like multifaceted power. Like, I would compare this to a card like Branded Beast, where the card is like really, really strong, but it's actually quite reasonable to deal with. I really, this is a good card, but I think it's also just really good design. I love this.
Yeah, I think it's good for the deck, and it's really, really interesting to me whenever anytime you have a deck that gets searchable trap cards that actually do something and are actually worth playing.
Yeah.
So think Sword Soul, right? Think Tier Limits. Think these decks, or even Sprite. Think these decks that being able to have searchable spell traps and things of that sort to add extra layers of interaction on the end board is the next wave of a good Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Because when you have decks that are all just making monsters on the field or all just, setting up interruption, a deck to be good in Yu-Gi-Oh now has to have multiple layers of interruption. It can't just be things on the field. It just can't just be things in the graveyard. It can't just be things in the hand. It has to be monsters plus spell trap plus something in the hand, right? You have to have, there's like 4 ways of interruption in Yu-Gi-Oh now, and you need to usually have at least like 3 of them.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Or you need to have 2, and they both need to be extremely good. Like, if you want an example of that,
right.
Super Heavy Samurai right now has only 2 layers, right? Like, it's the board that they build, and occasionally a third if they're like bringing in floodgate stuff, and then the hand traps.
Yeah.
But because one of them is so overwhelmingly strong, and their consistency is high enough that they can play high hand trap count, that works. But those are exceptions to the rule, right? Like, in order to, I think I agree with you, because if you take a deck like Rika, for example, not playable almost in the slightest until it got those extra layers of interaction, right? Like, you had Princess in the graveyard, you have Con contributing stuff off his cost, which is like kind of a unique layer that it has. And then it has like set disruption in the form of sheet. It can keep stuff in hand. That type of interaction is starting to be more important. Unless you're playing like super off axis, like Runic, for example, just does something different. And like if you're playing a blind second strategy, you don't follow that rule. But if you are going first as a deck, I think I agree that that's the direction. So it is cool that Konami has recognized this and they're giving decks these tools.
Right. All right, next one is all you.
Okay, so this is everyone's king, human type. I believe that's new. 3,000.
It is new. Yeah.
Illusion. We're getting a new type right after illusion. This is crazy. We never get this. 3,000, 2,500. Though he was a foolish king that threw away his hometown and friends, his damaged heart was saved by a truly caring heart. The man who has chosen to live according to his destiny will surely one day become a true king that will save the world and be beloved by all, granting happiness to everyone. Just a little side note, cannot be used in a duel.
Well, considering it doesn't have a level or an attribute.
There is no level and there is no attribute. So...
which means it could be a monster, right? Because it does have attack and defense, but it could also be a spell trap, right?
That's true.
Could be an extra deck card. We don't know.
It's not a token. It's got the normal monster border, so it's not a token. I just want to make that clear.
And it is classified as a human.
I wonder if that means you can declare human type with Herald of the Abyss.
That would be really funny.
I actually want to know now, because it cannot be used in a duel. But is it like, okay, I imagine it's not a legal card type. We can get into the semantics of this another time. The important thing about this card, and that's why Sunny wanted me to take this one, is that the print of this has significance for the 5Ds anime, right? In the 5Ds anime, there's a scene kind of close to the end of it where Carly Carmine is holding a photo of Jack Atlas, and Carly is like, I believe you can become a true king, or something along those lines. And this card art is the picture that Carly Carmine is holding. So this is actually this is really, really cool. I really like that the structure decks are now starting to have these types of things, like the Albaz tokens just having like new art for that stuff. The Crystal Beast structure deck having the Jesse Anderson tokens with stuff from the anime. I really think it is a very cool way to kind of bridge the gap between printing decks for competitive players to get cards that will help them build decks, and also to give like the fans stuff that they want. This is really cool. I love this.
Yeah. Well, that's all the new cards. We actually covered most of them in the last episode, but we are going to be getting... Oh, no. Oh, no, yawning. We are going to be getting probably some more new cards soon, I would imagine, in the last couple of days of the Duelist Nexus reveals before it actually releases in the OCG. So, and Animation Chronicle should be coming out any day in the OCG now as well. So, with those coming soon, I would imagine that we'll be getting those cards in the coming days. And also, hopefully, before the next episode, we will have a ban list.
Okay, we're gonna as the fresh blood here. I would like to distribute my. I will provide you all with my take on when the list will be.
Oh yeah, so you weren't here for the ban list predictions episode. I would love to hear your ban list predictions or your ban list takes.
All right. Listen, I'm sorry, everybody. You're gonna have to hear this for like the 10th time this month. I think we are not going to get a list until June. There are so many. I guess here's my thinking on the time frame. I don't think they will. If they release a list, it's not going to go into effect until June. But I don't think they're even going to put it out until June. And here's why I think that. So
I hate that.
No, I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying this is what I think will happen. I really don't like that we're getting another like really long wait for a list like this. But here's why. I think there are so many national events happening specifically in the EU that releasing a list kind of screws up a lot of their prep. If we were going to get one, it should have been like just after Cyberstorm Access's release. Like it should have been like a few days after. I think if we were getting one, it would have been early May. If they've released one now, they run into a problem where they have a whole bunch of national events that now have like almost no hype because they'd be playing under a format that doesn't exist. I personally would still like them to do it anyway, but just make it effective later, just so that people can prepare. Because that way, even though it's under like a list, like an old format list that people would have to prep for nationals for, at least people who have nationals afterwards can reasonably prepare for those events. I think that's the main complaint that people have about why there wasn't a list earlier, is that there isn't like preparation time. Like for GGYGO, I think said it best on his Twitter. He said something to the effect of, it is hard to prepare for nationals when you aren't sure what the card pool is, because it hugely impacts what's playable. And so when we don't get communication on when the list is, you end up in this place where people have to like spend hours practicing a format that they might not even be playing, and people have limited time to do that. So if my prediction is that they will not release the list until probably the first week of June. And I hate with a flaming, fiery passion that we do not have set dates for the ban list, or at least like time frames. Like I would love, even if they don't want to give us set time frames, I would love if they would just say there will not be a ban list until after X event, because then we can all at least know, right? But the way that it is now
I
sucks.
agree with that. I agree with that. I think that we do need to have a set date for the ban list release. But let me make a case on why it's okay that we don't have a ban list yet, and why we will have one before June.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think that Konami has a history of wanting to give a new set a couple, 2-3 weeks to see the impact that a new core set has on the regional scene before inputting a ban list. They did this with Power of the Elements, right? We got a ban list last year, and then we didn't get another one until October because they wanted to give Power of the Elements some time to settle in and see how it was going to impact the format before giving us a ban list that would impact said format. Because Power of the Elements power creeped the format in a lot of ways, and we didn't need a ban list to hit the old decks because they were already power crept. In the same sense, we got something similar in February when the last core set released, right? Because what was it? It was Dabble was in October, and then after Dabble was Photon Hypernova. We got a ban list a couple of weeks after Photon Hypernova released because they wanted to give it a little bit of time and see how that set was going to impact the metagame before giving us a ban list. Because you don't want to hit a deck that just got power creeped out, right? It doesn't make much sense. So to that end, I think they would like to give us a few weeks in SIAC format, see how the new set really impacts the format as a whole before deciding whether or not to hit. And now that I think that they've seen that we have a hit to, now that they've seen that even with the release of the new set, Kashtira is still the best deck, they're going to hit Kashtira. And there is evidence to support that they will release a ban list at the beginning of national season around this time, after you've already had a couple of nationals, but before you get into June. There is a precedent for this, which was this time last year. Today is May 14th as of recording, May 16th as of posting. And we got a ban list last year on May 17th, after we had already had several nationals, and the week before we had several nationals that coming weekend, and it was effective May 17th.
You can't give me hope like this, man.
This isn't hope. This is cold hard facts, baby.
The cold hard facts.
And that was the cold hard facts with Sonny. Yeah, we're gonna get our graphic. We're gonna get our graphics team to work on a graphic for that.
So, yeah, that's true. We got to get that segment going. Yeah. I think that's a good argument for the list to come out at the end of May and be effective in June. I think that is coping a little bit, but I will say that having it be around that time last year is definitely a pretty good argument. And now, in terms of what I would like to see on the list, I guess one other point that I thought of, I think you are right about that. Like, it's good to see. For example, I think over the last 2 weekends of SIAC results, and I will probably have some more from today as well, I think almost everybody wanted a runic hit of some kind. Coming into this season, and Runic has like one regional top. I don't even know if it's top to nationals. It's insane. Like, it is just like,
it's insane,
completely fallen out of the metagame. Largely, I think, because it has a bad Pearly matchup and it struggles against the super heavy setups that are like anti-spell card that are popular right now. I think it just ends up having weaker matchups, and that's what kind of causes it to fall off. Sprite is still present, like it's still probably like a deck, but instead of being like arguably the second best deck, it is now like 5th or 6th. So I think they likely will still hit it, just to like tell people, okay, you please play our new stuff. But it likely will not be like it's not going to be a death nail hit, right? Like, it's going to be something that's like either a consistency hit or just something small to move it down to like the 10 or 11th deck instead of the 5th or 6th, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what I would like to see in terms of specifics, I think we need a Kashtira hit. It's time. Like, if we're looking at results, Kashtira's sitting like 35% of tops, probably, maybe a bit less. At least if we're looking at nationals.
Honestly, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, somewhere in that like range, which is less than it was. It was creeping like 45, 50, 55 probably at the end of the previous format, but I think it's clear that it's still the top deck to beat, and I think it will be pretty harsh. It's not. I don't think it will be enough to kill it, but it's going to be enough to like really, really knock it down. I think Kashtira is one of the rare instances where a consistency hit would be a good idea, because the deck already has kind of a consistency issue. So hitting that actually would make it a lot harder to play, or you'd have to get more creative. I'd love to see either Fenrir or Unicorn limited. I would prefer Unicorn. I think Fenrir is cool for decks to have generically. It's clearly very strong, but it's a tool kind of like Pankratops, where I think it is good for the game to have cards that are good going second. Especially cards that aren't just like blowout board breakers, and I think Fenrir is a good example of that. Unicorn just being your whole combo by itself sucks. Like, if you start with Fenrir, you have to have other stuff. If you start with Unicorn, It's like, oh, this is just the whole line. Awesome.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah, Diablosis has to get banned. I think the zone walking stuff sucks. I think people shouldn't have to prep for it. I think people shouldn't have to play it. I will say,
I think that Kashtira is going to get. You ever seen? Have you seen the first Star Trek movie, like the one with Chris Pine?
I have seen that one.
Okay, so you know the part where they're drilling into Vulcan, into the center of the planet, and then they drop the red matter in there and it just destroys the planet.
Yep.
That planet is Kashtira, and the red matter is going to be the ban list.
We're destroying the pressure planet? Okay, alright, I see you.
Yeah. I think that they are going to completely obliterate Pressured Planet Raceoth. Is that the one?
That's the field spell. Yeah, it is. It is Pressured Planet Raceoth.
Yeah, that entire planet that's under that pressure, they're just going to destroy it.
Yeah. I will say, my last piece, I want Kashtira Birth banned. That would be my ideal hit to Kashtira. I think that card is absurd.
That card's nuts.
Unironically, I think Birth is the strongest card in that deck, and I would really love to see it not be a thing anymore.
Yeah, that card is nutty.
It's an extender. It's unbelievable recovery, and it also gets to be Dancing Needle for no reason. Like magical. If you haven't read Magical Musket Dancing Needle, it's like the only card I can think of that's comparable.
Really,
but like it just gets to have it. Like the triple DD Crow, right? Like, it's a Magical Musket Dancing Needle. It's basically just the same thing. It's a continuous trap card though. But where it just does the banish 3, but it doesn't do the other things that Birth does. Just tap Sprite on the wrist, like blue to 1, I think maybe is harsh. Jet to 1, I think would be cool. I could see starter to 1. I could see something like really weird happening there. Like maybe they go like, I don't know. Maybe they think like actually Carrot is too strong. We don't want them to have a spell trap negate. Ban Carrot. I don't know. I
really think that it's to me, if I'm hitting the deck, I go blue. I don't think you go Jet, because while I do think that there are a handful of spells that they would like to search, I think it's either blue or it's starter, because starter is exactly what it says. It gets everything up and going on its own. And even if you go starter into blue into Jet, then you can search Smashers. Whereas if you go blue into Jet into starter, then once you use that starter, it's like, okay, well, I can either wait for my opponent's turn to use it to get the cycle going again, or I can use it to maybe get out a red or a carrot for a negate. Yeah. But having it as it makes the engine, if you do starter, it makes the engine less recursive over and over. Whereas if you do blue, it does. I think both starter and blue make the engine less recursive, whereas I think jet takes a little bit of the ceiling off of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's true because you're making the decision about what to search rather, but about
Right.
what you want rather than like what you want to save, right? I think,
Right.
to be honest, I actually think the starter hit is probably worse for recovery because like if you hit starter, like what does jet search on the follow up? Smashers? Like what are you doing? The other thing is that if you hit starter, you can't do like the double cross. We might see more of that main deck. But let's say you hit starter, you can't do the like. Specifically, if they think that Live Twin Sprite is too good, I think they'll hit starter because the Live Twin Sprite they absolutely love to have the set starter to summon the red or carrot. Specifically because their board is pressed on like you tribute the other Live Twin name with your red or your carrot, so that you can then revive it to get the effects of both of them. So I think it depends on which version of the deck they want to hit. I think if they hit Runic separately, they'll probably hit starter. But if they don't hit Runic, I think they'll hit blue.
So, do we think that they hit Branded at all? I know that Branded just won the Israeli National Championship.
Shout out
do we
Galzo.
really think... Yeah, shout out Galzo. Do we really think that Branded is enough of a problem to justify getting hit? And if so, maybe just Branded regain. Is it regained or is it banishment? Which one is the one that revives?
You're thinking
expulsion.
Banishment. That's the expulsion. Yeah, expulsion.
Yeah, I think expulsion needs to go personally.
People used to use banishment to do it, but expulsion it does it easier. Yeah, I definitely.
Well, in that case, if banishment can do it too, then like, what are you gonna do? Hit them both?
Banishment is more setup. I think. I can't remember exactly how that situation works. It does. I can't remember why we were using banishment before.
Well, they were using it to summon some really stupid card from like forcing the breaker.
It's some extremely dumb nonsense. It was like Edo, I think. Is what they were using as banishment. I think there are more restrictions on it. So yeah, absolutely, we should be banning expulsion. I don't think Branded warrants another hit outside of that, right? Like, so the weird thing about banning expulsion is that they have the new fusion guy from Cyberstorm Access that can do the same thing, but it's way easier to interact with that card than it is expulsion. There are almost no good ways to interact with expulsion. Like, are you really going to cross out expulsion? We're not doing that. I really hope that Konami doesn't do the thing where they go, oh, everybody's playing Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, we should ban that card. Or like, oh, everybody's playing Ra's Disciple, we should ban that card. Please just ban the actual problem card. Ban expulsion. I don't think Brandon needs any other hits. If we're looking at results, it's not putting up that many. I think its position in the meta is totally fine. And also they just released a bunch of cards in Syak. Like, I don't think they'll do anything outside of expulsion.
So, here's my argument for
Devil's
them,
Devil's
for them
advocate.
banning Gimmick Puppet Nightmare.
Let's hear it.
When the wind-up loop was happening, what was the actual problem card of the wind-up loop? Wind-up Hunter was. What did they ban? Wind-up Carriers and Meity.
That's interesting. So I guess you're trying to say that their philosophy is actually, if it's too big of a problem, we're just going to make the deck not as playable so that it happens less, rather than ban the problem card.
Right. It's less about hitting the problem card itself, and more about hitting. I don't know. I guess the argument there is that like if they don't want to hit Branded too hard, then they just hit Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, right? That way Branded still has like one of their proprietary branded cards still playable.
It doesn't do anything.
It's so funny though that in a year of Branded being legal, we've moved the goalpost from limiting Branded Fusion to banning Branded Expulsion or Gimmick Puppet Nightmare.
Well, I mean, there's new cards. The format has changed. It's not the meta warping super threat that it was in Branded Sword Soul format.
Snow is not legal.
There's that too. Yeah, like a ton of things have changed. The Bestials are a thing. Not that they were amazing into Branded, but like there's a lot more people who are building decks to have graveyard hate options. People are prepared for branded. It has clear weak points. It has more tools to play through interaction now, but it's like it has like weird matchup issues. I just don't think it makes sense to hit it more than please for the love of God ban expulsion. Like, we cannot ban Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. That would be one of the all-time dumbest hits to ever happen on the list if it does. Like that would. All
right, so you heard it here first, folks. Smart Money says Gimmick Puppet Nightmare getting banned.
It would stand in the Hall of Fame next to A Assault Core to 1 and Shooting Riser Dragon to 1. Like,
those were pretty questionable
as the dumbest hits ever. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Misk to 3, and that's it.
Sorry, bud. You gotta go to 2 before it can go to 3.
We're getting dino stuff. Come on.
I will say I think Glow Up Bulb comes off the list because the OCG did it. I mean, if the OCG did it, we can do it here too.
Okay. The problem is, I agree with you that it could come off. I don't want that card off. I really don't.
And I see why, but my ulti first ed says it should come off.
See, you make a good argument, actually. I will say it will come off.
I'll make another argument for another card that I want to see come off for purely selfish reasons.
You say this every time. I already know what card it is. It's a level 5 Synchro monster.
I was going to say Wind Up Carry Zenmaity, but also bring Denglong back, baby.
This man will shill for Sword Soul until the end of his days. I cannot.
Bring the dang. Bring the dang.
I gotta be honest. I do not want Sword Soul to have a searchable counter trap. I really don't want this to be a thing.
But why?
I just blackout. Never mind. No, just don't worry about it.
But I could have blackout and 9 pillars.
I will say, Super Heavy is already hand looping. Bring back some Zenmaity. Who cares?
Here's my thing. You could bring back Zenmaity to 3 and leave Wind Up Hunter legal.
That would probably be fine.
And the deck is strong. Don't get it twisted. That deck is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that deck is necessarily good, right? I think it would remain rogue to tier 2 forever. And simply because of the recursion loop that exists, simply because of like the amount of just keep going the deck has, it would be playable. It would be a link climb deck for sure. But with that said, I don't think the hand loop is necessarily viable because of the existence, which Valor existed at the time, but now you also have a prevalence of Infinite Impermanence, Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Ghost Ogre would hurt that deck. You know, you have, any number of things, right? So, like that's a combo that has to go very uninterrupted for it to be effective, and I don't think it would be. I think one Imperm completely shuts down any combo that deck does.
Yeah, there are like some additional level 3 extenders you can play if you want to play like a 3-centric deck, but I think that's
Terror Top?
No, that card can never come back. No. We can't do that.
I'm just saying that deck would play it.
No,
that deck would play it. Like, am I wrong?
Oh, they would play it, but we can't bring that card back. You cannot bring back Terror Top. That card is way too good. It's
I guess I never played with it, so I don't know.
No. We're done talking about this. I don't think
says the Misk to 3 enjoyer.
Yeah, I mean, I want the same thing that we all want, which is ban Dimensional Barrier. Why is that card legal? I would love to see a lot of the crappy floodgates get limited. Like, limit Skill Drain again, limit Gozen, limit Rivalry, limit Tikadu. Probably Anti-Spell is cringe.
We're gonna spend all this time talking about the ban list.
We can stop. I didn't mean to turn this into another ban list
No,
episode.
I know it's fine, but we're gonna spend all this time talking about the ban list on Sunday, and then the ban list is gonna release on Monday, and then we're gonna. This has happened to us before. This has happened to us before, me and Caleb. We would talk about the ban list on like a Sunday, and then Monday they would announce it, and we have to go back and re-record an entire episode.
I can't do this.
And do a last minute edit. It's terrible.
I'm gonna send these Chisakiras after you for that. We're not doing this.
Oh no, I'm getting tributed.
Tributed.
Okay, so we do have some more stuff to talk about today. We do need to move on.
Yeah, there is one more major piece of news, right?
Yeah, so we have the update for the tournament policy guidelines this is updated as of May 11th of 2023 is when this took effect.
Yep.
So we're just going to kind of go through section by section, talk about all of the major changes. I'll read them out loud. Skyhawk, feel free to jump in at any time. So we're going to start in section 1. Subsection C changes to this section, which is the head judge section. We clarified that the head judge cannot make decisions that go against tournament policy, FAQs, operations docs, etc. That makes sense. We clarified that the head judge can disqualify people, but they cannot suspend them.
Correct.
So head judges can't, ban people.
Yeah. Only
we clarified that the
I was going to say only the for the head judges can't suspend people. They can DQ them from events. Only the penalty committee can actually suspend somebody from organized play.
We clarified that the assistant head judge cannot overrule the head judge if both the assistant head judge and the head judge are handling appeals. That makes sense.
Cool. That's
subsection D, assistant head judge public events lead. This is a new section. We added this section to make information about the assistant head judge public event lead role easier to find and understand. What does it mean? A tier 3 event such as a YCS or WCQ, the assistant head judges and public events lead have most of the same authority as a head judge in reference to their specific tasks. So this would be in helping actually run the events.
Yep.
So subsection E, floor judge, what changed? We expanded and clarified the information about questions judges should and should not answer, including new examples. We separated the should answer and should not answer into separate sections to make it easier to process and retain the information.
Yeah.
They basically just made it to where they clarified what questions judges are and are not allowed to answer.
Yep. Mostly, there's an update later about public and private information that's helpful, but it's mainly to prevent judges from revealing private information that shouldn't be revealed. Or to avoid coaching.
Right. Next, we have subsection J, which is media. We have separated official media and fan content creation into separate sections to clarify the different requirements for both kinds of content creation. We have added a link to the Konami Community Code of Conduct required for content creation. What does this mean? Requirements for media will differ depending on whether the creator is an official member of the media or a fan creator. Regardless of status, there's a code of conduct to which all creators of content are bound. So I do just want to jump over to the policy doc itself and go down to subsection J. So because this is relevant to me and you, Skyhawk.
Yeah. It's mainly just specifically dividing what you're allowed to do as each category and what qualifies as each category. Like fan content creation, limited to specific fan areas. You're responsible for waiver forms for anybody who appears on camera, should they be necessary. And I believe there are a couple of other responsibilities listed as well.
Yeah. So official media, you have to submit an official media pass request, which has to be approved and fulfilled by KDE. You have to provide evidence of your association with a news outlet or reputable entity in the gaming industry prior to the event, right? So official media you can't qualify for official media with like a YouTube account. And each event will be capped at 3 media channels or outlets. So like, there's not like a lot of coverage happening here. They're not planning on having IGN and Game Informer and, like 10 publications cover this event. There's nothing on that. But if you go down to the fan-created content section, select Tier 3 events may include a fan content area where event attendees can create photo and video content for social media use. Usage rules apply for the fan content area. So this is specifically for interviews, deck profiles, etc. Users must sign a form and agree to abide by the fan content area requirements. Users may be asked to sign an additional code of conduct. Users must sign up for a session to use the area, and a form will be available on site. Individual sessions may be limited as to time to ensure fair use for everyone. Refer to the event FAQ and on-site fan content area staff for more information. Table space backdrops and a limited number of power drops, depending on the venue, are available in the fan content area for content creators. Attendees may only create their own content in the fan content area. They may not use any other area of the event hall. And then more FAQs. You're responsible for obtaining release forms from others participating in your content. And you're required to adhere to all terms contained in the Konami Community Code of Conduct, which can be found at this link.
Mm-hmm.
So
we already had the fan content creation areas kind of thing, so it seems like this is just clarifying what's available and what the rules are.
Yeah, maybe. My big takeaway from this, though, is that if we want to vlog at Nationals, we can. So
fair enough. Yeah. Anyway.
So next we have the subsection or section 2, duelist responsibilities. So subsection I, communication. We expanded the section on retracting legal moves. We separated the cannot retract from can retract due to illegal activation, as there is currently some confusion about whether or not a duelist can retract an illegal activation versus being forced to change to a legal target. And we explained the process for resolving an illegal activation.
Yeah.
So judges and duelists have had questions about retracting legal moves or resolving an illegal action that were not clearly addressed in the previous version of the document. This additional information should make it clearer.
Yeah, this is actually really good. This is something that catches a lot of people who are kind of moving from an intermediate to a high level, or from beginner to intermediate, when they're attending events and learning like the structure of the game from a rules perspective. This is something that I actually didn't know my first 2 years playing. A good example of this is, say your opponent has a Dragoon, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the field, and a set back row, and you control Dino Wrestler Pankratops.
Sure.
Say I activate Dino Wrestler Pankratops, and I declare that I'm selecting Red Eyes Dark Dragoon as a target. Obviously, I cannot do that because Red Eyes Dark Dragoon cannot be targeted, right? In this case, this is not a retraction of the move per se, although they're saying can retract. You are not forced to follow through with the illegal activation of a card. So when you activate the Pankratops, you aren't forced to target the set card if you declare a target that's not legal to declare. You revert back to the last legal game state, which was before the Pankratops was activated. This is also very good about cannot retract. So like, say there's 2 set cards, I declare Dino Wrestler Pankratops targeting that set card. As soon as I say those words, I cannot then say, actually, I'll target the other card. If you're an opponent and you're nice, maybe you might let them do that. But as soon as they verbally declare their action, that overrides anything else that they have done. So I would recommend going to the article and reading through the examples if you're somebody who's a bit newer. Extremely helpful. I'm really glad they did this.
So it's important to note that not only are you not supposed to actually let them take back moves like that.
Yeah.
Not only are you not supposed to, it is illegal to do so.
Yes. Correct.
So while you, I guess, could break the rules and allow them to take a rule back, putting you in a less advantageous position, I would think about it twice. I've done it in tournaments before, especially locals. Locals, I roll with it. I did it at a YCS, though, and it lost me the match, so I'm not doing that anymore.
I would say at a locals, everybody is there trying to learn and dig it through. If there are no stakes, I think it is best to give people the space to learn and grow the community. At an event with real stakes, like an OTS championship or a regionals or a YCS, policy would just be to not do that at all. So anyway.
Okay. Live streamed events. This is a new section, so it covers personal policy related to appearing on camera at a live streamed event. So basically, if you're on camera at an event, there are certain guidelines that they want you to follow about maintaining like a proper composure, maintaining a proper presentability, things like that. And like if you're playing on a live stream, they want you to either use like a non-branded game mat or non-branded sleeves or Konami official stuff, which makes sense. They don't want you up there promoting something else.
Yep. So if you've got you don't need to be concerned card sleeves wise. Like if you have just like Dragon Shield sleeves, for example, those are not branded.
Right.
They're colored, right? That's perfectly fine. You're a-okay.
Yeah.
It's just if there's like extra branding on the side of them, or if you've got like a tube, just don't have that appear on camera. It's all pretty reasonable. Give it a read.
I think so too, but to each his own. Next we have tournament information. Changes to this section include subsection C time limits.
Yes! Woo!
Round times for Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 in-person events are now 45 minutes. So now we have changed. The 45-minute time limit is now no longer a YCS only thing. It is for all levels of events. I'm so happy with this. I cannot express this enough. A 45-minute timer at YCS has been such a blessing and a godsend. And I'm so happy that that is the official stance for regionals and locals now, too.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think this is a great change.
It's my favorite change in the entire document. I'm not even kidding.
100%. It is extremely good that I think the end of match procedures are something that a lot of players just badly dislike, and I think Konami knows that almost everyone doesn't like them, but at the same time they have to be able to run events in a timely way. This is a good compromise. I think after testing it for a while, 45 is just the way to go.
Yeah, agreed. Next, we have special assistance. So this is in the tournament play section, section 4, subsection B, special assistance. Essentially, if you have a disability or a reason that you need special assistance, contact Konami. They can give that to you.
Yep.
Tournament registration. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say for this, a good example for special assistance, if somebody has a mobility issue, like in terms of disability, making sure that they sit at the same table the whole time. As somebody who's going to be a head judge, just make sure that you let them know ahead of time, hey, I would like to enter this event, here's what's happening. Every team will move heaven and earth to make sure that you feel like you're welcome and able to participate in an event.
Next, we have tournament registration. So this is an entire section they added covering online registration. So with more events now requiring online registration, there's an official policy doc for it. So deck registration. This is really important. Duelists can now resubmit deck lists submitted online, but only to accommodate for a new Forbidden and Limited list or a new product release. So essentially, if you say you're going to YCS Philadelphia next weekend, right? And you go ahead and you submit your deck list now, and then tomorrow we get a ban list that says, oh, well, the ban list is effective immediately. Now you can, because you've submitted online in advance, you can go to the event and say, hey, I submitted my deck list online, but due to the ban list, I need to change my deck list to be, for it. So, this will allow you to make deck list changes, which I love.
So this is good. This is really good. Why would they put this in here now?
Because YCS Philadelphia is next weekend.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's
and I think there's a YCS this weekend too in Central America or South America.
This is just a good policy change. But I am curious about the timing of this. Anyway, we can move on. But
it's something that we've complained about several times, but I'm glad that they added.
Just something to think about.
Yeah. Subsection G, sleeves. So they clarified that you cannot use sleeves that are too big for your cards because it can cause marked cards, and a couple of other things about sleeves. Basically, just use the right sleeves, Tournament materials added a new section to allow zone markers to indicate blocked zones.
Excellent. This is a fabulous change. It is.
Agreed.
It's crazy to me that for a while they were like, we can use them on stream, but you're not allowed. But I assume it might have just been that they needed the time to make a good amount of updates to tournament policy to include this. Awesome. I will say there is actually a specific set of rules that you should know. Let me pull them up here.
You can't use tokens, counters, or things of that sort. It has to be something with a circle with an X on it to officially indicate that it is actually a blocked zone. So, all right. And then we have field layout. All right. The next thing that they talked about is the field layout. So, this is just something to keep policy consistent between documents. Note taking, we separated the allowed and not allowed examples, so this makes sense. This is another thing that would just make you understand a little bit better what is and is not allowed on note taking.
Mhm.
And by the way, we're going through this. You really should go in and read all of this yourself if you're planning on participating at tournaments, especially regional and above. That way you really have a good understanding of what you are and are not allowed to ask a judge. That way you're able to put yourself in the best advantage to succeed in these environments. Next, we have public knowledge. So they clarified what public knowledge covers. Public knowledge has some really specific limitations. Some duelists and judges have taken card text as public knowledge to mean you can ask for information about absolutely any card. And this is not the case and was clarified. So essentially, if my opponent is playing a Dark Warrior deck, I can't just call a judge and say, hey, what does Isolde do before they play it, right? There is a certain amount of understood you have to know if you want to succeed, you need to know not just what every card does at all times, but you need to understand specifically what your opponent is going to do to game plan for that, and you need to know what these cards do without having to ask a judge, hey, what does the next card in my opponent's combo do, right? And they, just like they clarified public knowledge, they also clarified private knowledge. So this makes it easier to tell the difference between public and private knowledge, and it's easier to understand the kinds of penalties that can be incurred by lying about or revealing private knowledge.
Yeah.
And with that, we also have card, hand, and deck verification. So things that are and are not appropriate for a judge to verify, because this is something that there's been misconceptions on since they instituted this policy. And then we have card loops. So this is the Morphtronic Telephone subsection.
The telephone clause.
Basically, they made it to where if you have a loop that is dependent on a die roll, but the die roll doesn't actually make a difference what it lands on, you just have to do it once to show that it doesn't make a difference, and then you don't have to do it anymore.
Yep.
There was some weird, questions about, so you can only do the loop once? No,
Right.
I think this is really meant to say you only have to show how it works once.
Yes.
And then from there, if it's not dependent upon the actual result of the die roll, you don't have to sit there and manually roll the die every time to actually, do the loop.
Exactly. The main thing here, the wording of once, it just makes it so that it works the same as all other controlled loops.
Yes.
The previous problem is that because technically a result was randomly changing with Telephon's life points, under the loop rules, you had to continue doing the loop, which is not great.
Yeah.
So this is just a way to say a good way to explain it, you only apply the results of the dice the one time, if it doesn't matter. So if in Telephon's case, let's say you roll a 2, you perform the loop once, you roll your 2, that 2 is now the dice roll for every instance of the loop that you repeat. So if you declare, I'm repeating this loop 2 million times, you gain 2 million, you gain 4 million life points, because the die roll result is 2 every time.
If you gain 200 and you do the loop 2 million times,
200
you gain 400 million.
Yeah. I tunnel visioned on the die roll, okay? Numbers aren't real.
So, conceding a game or match, we clarified that some events will not allow conceding or may have additional requirements, and you cannot ever ask your opponent to concede to you, even if you do not offer a bribe.
So this is, just to be clear about this one, the not allow conceding is basically for stream purposes. Like if you're on stream, they're not going to let you concede. At least there will be additional rules. I personally really dislike it, because I think being able to concede at any time is actually like a competitive advantage thing. Like, now to be fair, I don't think they have ever made somebody they don't have ever had somebody not concede, like in a game 1 situation when they want to hide what they're playing, right? Like I don't think they've ever done that, but they have made people play out like games that are already lost.
I don't like it, but I understand that they want to do it for content reasons. I think the way to deal with that is to just plan more backup content. I think
I agree.
I think the EU streams have figured it out, and the NA streams are still working on it.
Yeah, make some Edison format games. Let's go.
Honestly, not a bad plan.
That's what EU does.
I think backup features are another way to handle it.
One of my favorite things I've ever seen was in the finals of the YCS Las Vegas, the 3v3. They had cameras on all three players, and they would swap back and forth between them. When one game ended, they would go to a different game that was still going and swap between all three.
The 3v3
and it might be more intense. It might be more intense on the announcers and the crew, but wow, it was so much better of a product. I feel like
extremely cool. Big fan of that. I will say as well. Obviously, you cannot ask your opponent to concede to you, even if you do not offer a bribe. You cannot under any circumstances try to affect the outcome of a match other than what actually happened in the match. And if you are caught doing so, and especially if you're caught doing so in a malicious way, you will be disqualified immediately. So just don't do it. It's not worth it.
Time extensions have been clarified, and so they moved it. It wasn't previously in this document. It was in the infractions and policies doc, but now it's also here. Bribery and collusion, they added... It's funny that bribery and collusion, they made it to where prize splitting is legal. It's funny that they put it in the bribery and collusion subsection, but...
It's kind of collusion, I guess. And to clarify, like this one is like... It basically just means like if you're... Because I think it's been common practice for a while at like tier 1 events at like a locals or like a box tournament or whatever. Like if people go like, we got to top 4, we don't want to like... We can just split prizing. We don't want to play more Yu-Gi-Oh! We don't want to go home. I think making this like officially legal is good. Like it's not like it was like really prohibited, but being able to say, hey, one thing to note is that this is explicitly at tier 3 events. You are still not allowed to do this. So if you're at like a YCS like side event or whatever, you cannot. But I believe it's a tier 2 in some circumstances and always at tier 1 events, which
I think YCS side events specifically are considered tier 2.
Oh, that's possible.
Not tier 3.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'd have to check.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, section 5, reporting match results. They made a change that's saying if you don't report match results within 5 minutes of the round ending, whoever is responsible for submitting the result, typically the winner, will receive a game loss in their next round. Mm-hmm. So you basically, when you get done, don't walk around with your match slip for 20 minutes, delaying the entire tournament. Mm-hmm. Go bring it to the judges. Tiebreakers, they added an additional tiebreaker section, and they reorganized it. So essentially, it'll make it much less likely for duelists to end up with identical tiebreakers and tie for the same final standing. And they made it easier to read.
Yep.
Section 6, tournament infractions. So they added extra penalties for unsporting conduct. We included text notifying people that they will be added to the suspended persons list if they are suspended. So essentially, the way I see this, they're gonna start emailing people and letting people know if they've been put on the suspended players list.
No, I think this is just saying in the document they've added text that they'll be added, right? This is not like they're sending them a text notifying them. This is just...
No, I just figured that this meant they were sending an email.
I mean,
this
I believe...
Section 6, subsection G.
Let's see.
I don't think...
I don't think this is the case. I believe you just appear on the list.
Oh, okay, well...
I'm not sure. I don't know too much about the process.
Yeah, okay, it doesn't actually say. All right. Event violating community code of conduct. This is a new section. Basically, they instituted a code of conduct and stated that violations of this will result in additional penalties such as suspension from organized play. Inappropriate or unsupporting comments and actions can result in suspension from organized play. You're responsible for familiarizing yourself with this and abide by the policies it contains. Yeah. So essentially, leaks and things that you do out of the game, so Like specifically, we had the Tatsum situation a while back where he leaked some cards, or he reported on leaks, even though he wasn't the one to leak these things. This is formalizing them saying we can suspend you for anything we want to suspend you for at any time, and it's our discretion to do so.
Yeah.
Essentially.
There is something to note. I actually asked in the adjudication conflagration group, that's the semi-official judge group, I asked for some clarification on the code of conduct stuff, and I did get an answer from Julia.
Interesting.
At least for now. So I guess the first good point of clarity is House of Champs actually posted the exact text from the privileged
Policy
information. Doc. So something to note: this includes set contents, card spoilers for KDE US specifically. So somebody asked, "Will I get banned for sharing OCG reveals?" No, those are official reveals. That is fine every single time.
Okay.
So that stuff is not a problem. However, it specifically mentions that this privileged information clause includes sharing or reposting it. So if you post it, if you post it at all, and the other clarification is it is not restricted to the original sources. So they are saying if you post leaks at all, whether you are the source of the leaks or not, then you can be suspended.
Right.
So I think,
and I mean, it's good that have clarified this, right? It's good to have clarification on this. I just think it's a very dangerous policy.
I think this is very bad. I think this is draconian. That is the word to use. I am happy that they are specific. Like, I'm happy that because the problem with Tatsum's situation is this was not in the policy anywhere.
Correct.
And they dinged him for 3 years for that.
4 years.
Yeah. He was banned for 3 years for the leaks and for 1 year for a different thing.
I thought it was 2 and 2.
I thought it was 3 and 1. Regardless.
Yeah, whatever.
Tatsum can share his own story, I guess. Point being, do not post leaks anyway, because you will probably be suspended, even if you are not the original source. I think I'm just gonna say terrible.
I don't think Tatsum will be their scapegoat for this. I think that they will find someone in the coming weeks and make an example out of someone to prove that they're serious about this.
I believe it. I really don't like this. I think people can click links accidentally. People can share stuff without knowing that it's a leak. You can do the whole ignorance of the law isn't an excuse for breaking the law, but these are rules for a card game participation and not court of law. I think you can be a little more reasonable about that. I think even there are legal consequences for leaking product, right? That's a crime to do. Why not pursue people?
Here's my thing.
That way,
here's my thing.
Yeah.
Konami doesn't want these leaks out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about this? How about before these leaks can come out, you work with content creators even earlier than they already do. Normally they have the set reveals with the content creators like a week or so before the set releases. Why not do it earlier than that, right? Why not do it, a good bit earlier? Why not do more in-depth stuff? Invite the content creators to Konami to do interviews about this set and how, like Magic does stuff like this, right? We get a lot more background information on how these sets are made, how these sets are revealed, and it's a lot bigger deal. And I don't know, I just feel like I feel like Konami could do more in the space. There's a reason that we get so hyped over leaks, and it's because Konami never gives us any information.
Yeah.
So, which I will say they've been working better to work with content creators. Things like the fan media section are like that. That's part of it, right? That's part of them. It doesn't feel like much to people that aren't a content creator, but that is a step in the right direction, undoubtedly. But I think that if Konami wants to make leaks less of a problem, then they leak it before somebody else can.
Yep.
That's the solution, which sounds crazy, but that to me, that's the solution.
Yep. So the other thing important to note,
you control these leaks and you get in front of them by putting the information out there yourself. That way you can actually control what information goes out.
I completely agree.
one other point to note, the community code of conduct. So there's a link to the code of conduct. I would recommend going to read it in its entirety if you plan on playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In any capacity, because that code of conduct also applies to entering any events in Master Duel or Duel Links or anything.
Yes.
I am worried a little bit about how vague some of the sections are in terms of when they apply. Julie, I asked a question in the judge group, and the head of judging is looking into the specifics of when some of it applies. The response I got was that the harassment sections and like the trolling and the bullying and all that stuff applies universally on social media platforms. So don't harass people, don't threaten people, don't bully people, don't discriminate against people. Those are just generally decent human things that you shouldn't be doing. Or decent, yeah. So just be a decent person.
The only reason that you should have for harassing anybody is if they think Shine Down is better than their girls.
Listen to the Patreon episode if you want to hear more by signing up to the Patreon. The thing is, anything else that isn't like social media, like harassment or threatening or anything else, is meant to apply in game or in events. So one example is like politics, right? I got an election coming up in Alberta. I'm probably going to be posting about it. That's important to me. That's who I am. That's something that is going to matter. The goal there is, and this isn't, don't take what I say here as set in stone. They're still looking into it and waiting to get me a better answer. But her understanding of it is that that's meant to apply in the game. So like if I post about, say, like a get out the vote post for Alberta, that doesn't violate the code of conduct because that has nothing to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! Even though my account is associated with Yu-Gi-Oh! If I were to post on there, that's perfectly fine. It's only if it's like under a Konami post or like relating it to Yu-Gi-Oh! At an event or doing something like in-game, right? So that's good. Like if they're going to apply it that way, I'm okay with that. I'm still a bit worried about the vagueness, but if they're like harassment is universal, but all the other stuff is only while you're in-game or participating at a Yu-Gi-Oh! Event, I think that's reasonable. So, just to give y'all, if anything changes, I'll let y'all know, because I'm still waiting on detailed response.
Yes. The last thing to talk about is marked cards. They did add a little subsection about marked cards and how if you have marked cards that you cannot replace, you have to drop. So, all right. With that said, that's everything for today's episode. I hope that you have all enjoyed this wonderful leap into the new era of the Top Cut podcast with myself and, of course, the one and only, the wonderful Giant Skyhawk.
That's me.
Love that. And, of course, we're going to go ahead and thank all of our wonderful, wonderful patrons. So, with that said, a huge thank you to What's the difference between Naruto and Bleach? No one has ever told me to drink Naruto. Kane Martin, Zyphorus, Cards Go Asia, Earth Machine, Best Deck, FP. Has anyone actually read Toy Vendor, HH Cyber? If all you have is a Cosmic, every problem looks like a floodgate. John Lil, Monstertron, Mountain Man, Oatmeal Spaghetti, Owen Alvarado, Seto Kawaiba, Silver Hope, Unbanned Number 95, Konami. Understanding and reading are two different things. Virtually Savior's World. Rogue and Tier 2 are the polite terms for bad deck. Aaron Gardner, Asami, Ashless Chaps. Atsuyo, Simp of the Silver Castle. Blackwing Silver and the Ascendant is the best floodgate. Box Wine, Tomoana, Get Your Game On. Duty Booty, Dragon Maidenless Behavior. Dragon Maid Stunzed. I'm about to Rika Glamour Tribute for Frosty's Plant Nuts in Your Mouth. Cam, the Hockey Walkie Slush Mixer. Old Man Red, Pin Code 143, and Slaking It Up. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the podcast. And with that said, have a great week, everyone.
Adios.
Is that your sign off? Adios.
I don't know.